Why do so many men, smart, well-meaning, even successful men, spend their lives chasing a version of love that leaves them empty, confused, or broken? Why do they give everything only to watch it all slip through their fingers? Maybe the answer isn't found in what women want. Maybe it's buried in a brutal truth most men are too afraid to face. Over 200 years ago, a philosopher, Arthur Schopenhauer, looked straight into the soul of human desire and saw something that still terrifies people today. He didn't see romance. He didn't see poetry. What he saw was a biological illusion, a ruthless game written not by hearts but by nature. By the end of this video, you'll understand why so many men feel used, lost, or powerless in love, and how you can finally take back the power you unknowingly gave away. Body. Pay close attention because this isn't just controversial. It's the missing piece most men will never find, not in self-help books, not in therapy, not even in so-called red pill forums. Schopenhauer didn't believe in fairy tales. He didn't see love as a divine force or soulmate connection. He saw it for what it is, a clever trick played by evolution, a chemical manipulation with a single goal: reproduction. Think about the last time you felt real, all-consuming attraction. That electric spark, the obsession, the conviction that this woman was the one. You thought your soul was speaking, right? No, according to Schopenhauer, your brain wasn't reaching for romance, it was calculating. Underneath all the poetry and passion, your subconscious was running algorithms. Is she fertile? Is she genetically compatible? Will this pairing produce strong offspring? And women, they do the same. The difference is they prioritize different traits. Schopenhauer wrote, "Love is the ultimate goal of almost all human effort. It is more important than anything else in life." But he wasn't celebrating it. He was warning us. That overwhelming love you feel, it's a trick, a fleeting chemical high designed to push you toward reproduction. Once that mission is accomplished, the magic disappears. And then what? How many men have poured everything into a woman: time, money, loyalty, their very identity, only to be left shattered? When she walks away without hesitation, how many marriages end in cold silence once the fire fades? That's not coincidence. That's nature doing what it always does, moving on. Women don't choose men based on kindness, fairness, or emotional sacrifice. They choose based on instinct, deep, ancient instincts wired to seek security, strength, and status. Devotion in itself is meaningless unless it comes from a man who embodies those traits. Schopenhauer saw through the illusion. He understood that women aren't driven by logic or ideals, but by emotion and survival. And before you shout misogyny, pause. This isn't about hate, it's about honesty. Just look at the data. On dating apps, 80% of women pursue the top 20% of men. In courtrooms, men are often punished for the very commitments they thought would protect them. And throughout history, powerful men have fallen to ruin chasing women who never intended to stay. The pattern hasn't changed because human nature hasn't changed. Most men believe love is an equal exchange. They think that if they give enough attention, affection, protection, they'll be rewarded. But Schopenhauer warned, to be loved, one must not be just, but clever. Women aren't drawn to niceness, they're drawn to strength. And not just physical strength, social dominance, financial security, emotional resilience. These are the currencies of attraction. That's why the nice guy so often finishes last. Not because he's a bad person, but because he doesn't understand the rules of the game. He thinks love is something you earn by being good. But women are instinctively drawn to men who don't need to prove their goodness. Have you ever noticed how quickly interest fades once a woman has a man? Once he's no longer a mystery or a challenge, her excitement diminishes. The roles reverse. Suddenly, the chaser becomes the chased. Schopenhauer called this the tragedy of possession. The excitement is not in keeping, but in conquering. Once the conquest is over, the biological urge fades. Nature is already pushing both parties toward new possibilities. This is where so many men fall apart. They cling, they beg, they revolve their lives around her approval, thinking that loyalty will bring back the fire. But loyalty is not what reignites passion. Power is. And the more you surrender, the more the attraction dies. But here's the twist that most miss: this isn't women's fault. It's not even about them. It's about nature. And the man who begins to understand this stops blaming. He starts adapting. Schopenhauer's message isn't hate women, it's see them clearly. Stop projecting fantasies onto reality. Stop calling it love when it's just a one-sided negotiation. Because if you enter that negotiation from a place of weakness, of neediness, of desperation, you've already lost. But this is only the beginning. Because what comes next is even darker. It explains why modern men feel outplayed, outclassed, and emotionally bankrupt, and why most of them, even with good intentions, keep losing in relationships. The rules of attraction today, they're not fair, they're not balanced, and they're certainly not in your favor. While modern culture screams about equality and sensitivity, biology still plays by its own brutal rules. Rules that few men are taught and even fewer are willing to face. And here's the cold truth Schopenhauer saw long before dating apps or Instagram models existed. Women hold the ultimate power in relationships, not because they're cruel, but because nature made them selectors. They choose, and they have the luxury of choice early, easily, and often. The moment a girl hits puberty, her value in the sexual marketplace peaks. Men, on the other hand, they have to build theirs through work, through status, through time. Nothing is handed to them. They must earn everything while competing against the very biology designed to keep them in scarcity. Schopenhauer didn't sugarcoat it. He wrote, "Women are suited to be the nurses and teachers of our childhood by the fact that they themselves are childish, frivolous, and short-sighted." It wasn't an insult. It was a cold, evolutionary observation. A woman's youth and beauty are her power, and she knows exactly how to wield them. And look around, don't you see it? The modern man is trapped in a paradox. He's told to be soft, open, vulnerable. But those very traits make him invisible to the women he desires. He's told traditional masculinity is toxic, yet it's the bold, dominant, unfiltered men who get the most attention. He's told to be a provider, but the system punishes him for providing. Work your whole life, and if things go south, you'll face alimony custody battles and endless judgment. Schopenhauer saw all of this coming. He warned us. But no one listened. And here's where things get dangerous, because modern women haven't just accepted their power, they've learned how to weaponize it, not consciously, not maliciously, but instinctively. And unless you understand how that power works, you'll spend your life handing you over without even realizing it. And so after pulling back the curtain on romantic illusion, Schopenhauer urges us to face a far more unsettling truth. The game of modern love isn't just unfair. It was never built for the average man to win. Social media has transformed attention into a full-fledged economy. But in this new marketplace, the average man isn't the buyer. He's the unpaid labor. He simps. He orbits. He exhausts himself trying to earn digital scraps of validation from women who wouldn't so much as blink if he disappeared tomorrow. Why does he do this? Because he's been sold a dream. A glossy, pixel-perfect lie, that loyalty, that devotion, that just being a good guy is enough. But Schopenhauer saw this illusion for what it was long before dating apps, thirst traps, or Instagram influencers. He recognized the system, the script. He saw that women through centuries of conditioning have been systematically shaped to become incapable of deep, selfless love in the way most men understand it. It sounds brutal, maybe even misogynistic until you truly understand what he meant. Schopenhauer wasn't spouting hate, he was describing a biological strategy. Female love, as he observed, is not unconditional. It's transactional. It's tightly bound to utility. A man isn't loved for who he is at his core, but for what he can give, what he can do, what he can provide. And the moment that provision stops, so does the affection, so does the admiration, so does the love. This isn't cynicism, it's survival instinct. Women are biologically wired to seek the most capable mate, the one who can secure their future and that of their offspring. If a man stagnates, she resents him. If he slips even slightly, she begins to look elsewhere. In today's culture, it doesn't challenge her for it, it applauds her. Schopenhauer divided men into two clear categories, those who serve and those who are served. The beta male breaks his back, chasing worth trying to prove himself endlessly. The alpha, he doesn't chase at all. He radiates value without seeking approval. One man begs for attention, the other becomes the center of it. We see it all around us. The office worker who grinds away at a soul-crushing job, hoping a promotion will reignite the admiration in his wife's eyes. The gym addict who sculpts the perfect body only to attract women who desire him just not for commitment, only for lust. The hopeless romantic who spends half his paycheck on a girl who ghosts him the second a higher value man enters the room. These men are not victims, they're volunteers in a rigged game. But Schopenhauer didn't stop at identifying the trap. He offered the first principle for escaping that: stop wishing the world was different. See it as it is. Because in reality, the modern man who thrives is not the one clinging to outdated fantasies of romantic devotion. It's the man who learns the rules, then rewrites them. And here lies the most painful truth of all. The game is only rigged if you play by the rules they gave you. This is the breaking point where most men walk away. Not from women, but from themselves. Because the next lesson cuts deeper than all the rest. It's not about her. It's never been about her. It's always been about you. Once you face that, everything begins to change. Schopenhauer identified something that modern psychology now echoes. Women do not compete like men do. They don't confront. They don't challenge you in the open. Their most potent form of power is invisible, subtle, and devastating. It's emotional influence. Men fight with strength, with logic, with strategy. Women, they reshape perception itself. They don't demand. They manipulate. They don't argue. They influence silently. When a man wants something, he asserts. When a woman wants something, she plants the seed and lets you think it was your idea all along. Schopenhauer saw it with stark clarity. Women are adapted to a sedentary life by their lack of physical strength and to the care of children by their natural inclination, which is why they live more in the present than men do. But this present-focused awareness gives them a potent edge. A woman can read a man's micro-expressions, his tone, his hesitation with almost supernatural precision. While a man thinks he's having a simple conversation, a woman is already 5 steps ahead, conducting a psychological scan. The tragedy. Most men believe they're in control of their relationships. But from the first swipe on Tinder to the last signature on divorce papers, women are the ones directing the play through a series of subtle, often invisible tests. The compliance test. How fast do you rearrange your life for her? The frame test. Do you hold your position or fold when her emotions flare? The investment test. Are you chasing more than she is? Most men fail these tests without ever knowing they were being tested at all. Schopenhauer warned us women are instinctively cunning. Their talent for deception isn't evil, it's evolutionary. In a world where they couldn't rely on brute strength, emotional intelligence became their shield, their sword, and their survival. The women who couldn't read men didn't pass on their genes. And this is where modern men walk straight into the lion's den because they mistake a woman's attention for genuine desire. But Schopenhauer uncovered the deeper truth. Women are most drawn to the men who need them the least. The moment a man orbits his life around a woman, the moment he makes her his purpose, she loses respect for him. Not because she's cruel, but because value once given away freely ceases to exist. This is why nice guys finish last. Why marriages unravel after men abandon their ambition to please. Why women are drawn to men who are emotionally unavailable. It's not about craving mistreatment, it's about evolution. Women are wired to desire strength, and nothing signals weakness more loudly than neediness. Every interaction contains an invisible tug-of-war. Most men lose without even realizing there was a contest to begin with. She cries to dodge accountability. She withholds affection to condition behavior. She flirts with others not to be cruel but to test your composure. Schopenhauer called it the tyranny of the weak, a strategy where those who appear vulnerable actually hold the reins by exploiting emotional reflexes in those stronger than them. A man who falls for this becomes a puppet, but a man who sees the strings, he becomes unstoppable. After seeing through the illusions, the manipulation, the misplaced loyalty, the games masked as love, the modern man stands at a crossroads. He can either continue chasing shadows or choose something greater to become a man so complete within himself that no external validation can define him. This is the transformation Schopenhauer hinted at in what separates men who suffer from those who rise. They cultivate a purpose so powerful, so deeply rewarding, that female attention becomes just a ripple on the surface of their lives, pleasant but not pivotal. It's no longer a matter of survival. It's not the oxygen they gasp for. It's just the fragrance in the air as they build their empires. History remembers a certain kind of man, the artist lost in his canvas, the inventor buried in his sketches, the warrior sharpening his blade beneath moonlight. These men weren't consumed by pursuit. They weren't orbiting women hoping for approval. They were consumed by vision. They didn't chase women because they were too busy chasing destiny. So what makes a man unshakable in today's world? What anchors him when everything around him tries to pull him off center? Schopenhauer's philosophy points us toward three unbreakable pillars of masculinity. First, economic sovereignty. Money, Schopenhauer warned, isn't valuable for the objects it buys, but for the autonomy it grants. It's not about luxury, it's about liberty. The man who owns his time, who doesn't answer to every call or bow to every boss, is the man who cannot be controlled. When you command your finances, you command your future. The man who holds the keys to his income is the man who writes the script of his life. Second, philosophical depth. Most men float through life in a fog, reacting, obeying, conforming. But the exceptional man sharpens his mind like a blade. He questions. He reads. He reflects. He isn't afraid of difficult truths, he pursues them. He learns not just to think, but to think for himself. In a world drowning in noise, his clarity becomes a weapon. Third, physical mastery. The body is not just for looks or attraction, it is the temple of a man's will. Every drop of sweat, every rep, every discipline and choice they build more than muscle. They build mindset. Weakness in the body is rarely isolated. It seeps into decisions, emotions, relationships. Strength, on the other hand, radiates outward. It commands respect not just from others, but from yourself. And this is where Schopenhauer's insights become truly revolutionary. He once said, the safest way of not being very miserable is not to expect to be very happy. At first glance, this may sound bleak, but it's not despair, it's armor. It's freedom from delusion. When a man stops chasing constant happiness, love, fairness, or approval, those things stop running from him. Why? Because he no longer emits desperation. He's stepped out of the crowd, and in doing so, he's become the prize. This battle between men and women. It's not personal. It never was. It's a theater of biology playing out across generations. Scripts handed down, roles unconsciously performed. But the man who becomes aware of the play doesn't resent the actors. He rewrites his part. He doesn't try to change female nature, he adapts to it. He doesn't lower his standards to be accepted, he raises his life until only those who qualify can remain. His path becomes so compelling that a woman must rise to his level or be left behind. He doesn't demand loyalty, he attracts it. And he never begs because he's already full. Schopenhauer's most piercing reminder echoes here. We forfeit 3/4 of ourselves in order to be like other people. And that's the quiet tragedy of the average man trading power for acceptance, abandoning individuality for comfort. But it doesn't have to stay that way. The choice is yours. Will you keep chasing illusions, love that vanishes when you falter, respect that costs your identity, happiness that's always just out of reach? Or will you finally step into your own gravity? Will you stop being a planet that orbits others and become the sun? This isn't about resentment. It's not about war between genders. The red pill at its core isn't about hating women. It's about loving truth enough to rebuild yourself in its image, raw, real, and unstoppable. Because this is where your real life begins.